Here at looking here at your new 3-line Flowmaster automatic filling system, and we figured we'll just make a real quick video showing you overall how to operate the machine, and it'll help you get started. This is your air connection here. You bring your air into here, and then this turns it on and off. That'll turn your air on. I'll turn it off for now. This is the main air cylinder. We adjust the quantity by this rod. If you turn it counterclockwise, you'll take more of a stroke, so you'll get more of a quantity. If you want less, you turn it in, and that regulates the travel of the piston crossbar. Now, just a quick note: sometimes to prime the heads of these, you might want to back the quantity way out. You'll get primed a lot faster, because in this case we're filling pretty small containers. So what I did to prime it, I just put the discharge tubes into a bucket, took a couple of long strokes, and it primed up, and then I shortened the stroke. Now I have a rough indicator here on the side. You can fine-tune that later on, but that's just to get you started. That's where I was to fill the 10 milliliters. That's what I believe to be the smallest of the containers. And now we'll go around to the front of the machine. Oh, never mind. This is the speed of the discharge. This flow control. If you want to go slower, if you're splashing or something, turn this in. You'll slow it down. If you want to go faster, turn it out. It'll fill faster. This is the speed of the intake. Now this matters a lot more on this machine than our standard, like a single head, because when the piston is all the way back, then your cycle resets. So if you find that you're not your containers aren't indexing fast enough, you might want to slow this down, and I'll go over that briefly when we get to the indexing part of it. Okay, we're standing on the front of the machine now, the operator side. I'll just briefly go over, these are the 3 filling heads, and they contain, there's a check valve on either side of these T's. This is the inlet check valve, and this is the outlet or the discharge check valve. It's important that the check valves are oriented the right way. That you want the flow to come into the cylinder on the intake stroke, and then out of the cylinder on the exit stroke. And you'll see when you get it, the way the check valves, they open only in one direction. So that's kind of important that you get them back in properly. Okay, now here, this is our indexing system. Now the way this works, we do have some online videos that you could look for, but I'll just briefly explain it. The way this 2-cylinder index system works is this cylinder, the far side or downstream air cylinder, is set so that in this case we're filling 3 containers. So this holds 3 containers, and what that allows you to get the proper spacing for the next 3 containers that you're going to fill. So the downside of this system is it's a little tricky to set up sometimes, but the upside is it can fill pretty much any size you want. You can fill different sizes and shapes of containers. So that's really an advantage a lot of times. So right now the air is off, so I can actually manipulate these cylinders, and I'll show you what this one captures these 3 air cylinders, so that when you push the neck capturing in, these cylinders are directly under the nozzles, and they're ready to. They come down and fill them, then we come back up. This cylinder, this moves at the same time that the neck capturing moves, and this comes in. I don't know how much the camera will see. That comes in, and it just keeps that bottle from kicking while it's getting filled, because the container runs continuously and it tries to drag it. But these particular bottles, they're pretty stable. They behave pretty nice. So this cylinder doesn't do a whole lot, but as I said, the principle is that this cylinder provides the correct spacing so that the 3 coming in to get filled are in the right place. Now, while we're here, I'm going to mention we have change parts for this machine. There's only a very small difference between these containers and I call these the 10 milliliter containers, and the other one, the next size up, very close in size, but different enough where that we needed change parts. So we have a neck center jaw and a nozzle bracket. Oops, that goes this way. Nozzle bracket bolts on with 2 bolts, and these are set for the correct spacing for 3 15 milliliters, and there's a stamp on there. I don't know if the camera sees it. That's a stamp for 15, and this jaw, the neck capturing jaw, is stamped for 15 as well, and these two are stamped for 10. Now this jaw, you just remove these 2 screws, and that jaw drops out, and that goes there. And then let me show you another thing, might be helpful. I mentioned before that when I prime the machine, I just put the nozzles in a bucket. What I actually put them in the other bracket and put that in the bucket. But they lift out like that. As you see, we're filled with water right now, so they go in there, and you just give them a little pinch, not much. They don't need much to hold them in place. That wasn't even tight. There you go. That's about it. Oh, the head adjusts up and down. And in fact, you might have to make a slight adjustment for the 15s. There's a handle here, and that lifts, raises, and lowers the entire assembly, the filling head assembly, up or down. I don't know if you can see what we're doing here on the. If this will catch where we're catching the containers height-wise. We're catching them above this flange here. We're catching it here. I don't know, maybe you can show with the camera on the side. Well, let's see where we're capturing that. Once you get the equipment in front of you, you'll see what, and we'll ship it to you set for the 10s. But the changeover for the 15s is very simple. You just change the nozzle bracket, the lower jaw. As I said, there's 2 bolts for that, 2 bolts for this. And you may want to raise, I think the 15s, you have to raise the head up, the whole assembly come up just a little bit. And then you adjust the rail brackets. They're a little bit wider, so you have to back the brackets off a little bit. Again, when you have the equipment in front of you, it'll become quite obvious. The guide rail heights didn't have to change; they were fine. The height-wise, they were fine the way they were, but we just moved them out a little bit for the 15s. And that's about it. I'll turn the air on, and we'll run a couple of more. The conveyor off and on is here. There's a speed adjustment. Oh, now as I was mentioning before regarding the index, the machine will go through its cycle, and when the piston crossbar is all the way back, the cycle resets. So in this particular case, there's not a really, with their small containers, you don't have to move them fast at all. All you need to know is that these 3 filled containers have to get to this, this station here in time before the cycle starts. And you can adjust that by several ways. One of them is the conveyor speed. If they're not getting there in time, you could speed the conveyor up, or you can actually slow the piston crossbar down. When you start running it, you'll get used to it real fast. But production-wise, you'll probably end up. You don't want to use. Typically, you don't want to slow down. You want to speed up. So you can speed up the retraction of the crossbar and the chain travel. But as I mentioned, they're only moving. What is it? 3 inches. So it's pretty simple. Okay, conveyor's running. Air is on. I'll turn us on and. You can watch this catches 3. Okay, just maybe something I didn't mention. I did mention the concept of how this index system works. I didn't tell you how to adjust it. Here, you know, these two air cylinders, this is the more critical one. The way they adjust, as you'll see when you get the 15 milliliters are a little bit larger in diameter than the 10s. So they're going to take up more space, obviously. So we'll end up having to move this down. So the way I would do it is that this longer knob that clamps the air cylinder bracket onto these rails, and that'll adjust your side to side. Okay, and then this knob adjusts your in and out. So I'll show you with okay, the air's off. But the way that this good starting point is, you put your proper brackets on, put your proper neck jaw on, put three. Oh, I misspoke. The air is on. We have 3 containers centered underneath the nozzles. Oh, I should have mentioned that this back neck guide is adjustable in and out as well, but the necks on these, there was no need for adjustment between the two. But the idea is you want them centered under the nozzles. That's your starting point, the nozzles. So anyway, we have our air's off. We have 3 containers where we want them to be. So now we'll put 3 that, these will be, when you're in automatic, these will be filled. So we put them in place. Now we're going to bring this cylinder up. I'm going to extend it. By hand I extended this rod. I'm going to come all the way up, and we're going to just touch that cylinder, maybe push it back slightly. And as you see, I was moving it in and out and side to side. And you set that like that. These don't have to be very tight. They're pretty stable. They'll stay put. That's there. Now we'll check this one. This guy here, as I said, especially with these containers, you just want to make sure you don't hit the third one, and just catch the last one that's being filled. To be honest, on these containers we probably don't even have to use this air cylinder, but it does make for a nice smooth looking index. So that's that. Now when we run, you might see a little different. You might have to make some fine tuning, mainly due to the conveyor is going to be providing some push. So you might end up, a lot of times you end up having to push this down a little bit, but we're right there.